one thing I would like to do is take this bright white and then check this out. This is really nice little detail for eyes. So this is like the light is bouncing off of his cheek and up onto the bottom part of that eyeball. Now, if this was made out of stone or something, like rocks, probably wouldn't be as strong as this. I guess it could, though it could, depending on the type of rock or stone and how strong that light is hitting. But either way, this makes for a really cool little effect. And like I said before, I kind of wanted to do that underneath the nose here. But I don't want to lose the shadow. So I want to make sure I still have a nice shadow. So you see the way this is like really taken form? And it's so fun. I mean, this is a lot of fun to do. Even though there's no color, this is still a lot of fun to do. I'm going to deal with this logo later. I'm not going to do that now on this video. Basically, how I treat that logo is going to be the exact same way that I would do the everything else that you've watched me do. So I don't think you're missing out on anything. Sorry, I'm not trying to gyp you of tips or tricks or anything. I think pretty much all the important stuff I wanted to teach you, I've kind of already done it. I could even end the video now, to be honest. But let me at least finish a few more things and then we'll call it a day. So let's just give this eyebrow a little bit more shape. If I can be honest, I kind of would like to look up some reference to know how to treat this eyebrow in here. Because I don't think that I'm approaching it the right way. I think that this would all kind of be in shadow. I don't know that you would have a bunch of light shining up in there. You might have some light kind of hitting the bottom part of that eyebrow. Okay. And because this is all like the way I've designed this or painted this is that it's all made from the same material. This really would have the same kind of, if this was color, then I could easily separate that eyebrow from the skin because it would just be black. But because this is made of all the same material, it's going to have the same kind of value up here. And so I kind of wish I would have thought that a little bit better, a little bit different. So you are going to have some shadow underneath. I'm going to remove that bounce light. I feel like that'll help separate it a little bit more. Okay, and yeah, I think that I could have given this a little bit more love. Let's see, this is dark here, and so I think I want to push the shadow up a little bit more here. There you go. So it feels like almost like a piece of dough. And then up here, I'm going to add a little bit of a stronger highlight. Especially it's like high up here. I feel like this is probably catching the most light than anything else. And then like I said, I'll finish the logo later, not in this YouTube video, but if you want to see more, you can check it out on my membership. So yeah, so we'll do the logo later, but really it's not a whole lot. There's a couple little different things, and like I said, I am gonna do some color as well. But for this video here on YouTube, this is pretty much it. The very, very last thing that I want to do is, I think I do want to, I'm going to push the lighting a little bit. I think I want to have this part of the earlobe just catch a little bit of light. I don't know if that would really happen in real life, but I just want to do that. I want to soften this a little bit from the ear. I keep saying it. I keep saying I'm gonna be done, and then I just keep painting. But we really are getting close to that. The very, very, very last thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add these eyes in there, so that he doesn't look like he has no soul. I'm gonna do that on a separate layer. And how should I do this? I think I'm gonna go full sculpture mode, and these will be kind of like that. I don't know if this is gonna look right. Let's see. This might look crazy. If it does, I'm gonna have to just cheat it then and just paint black circles for him to have his irises, I think is what they're called. Yeah, I feel like he's gonna look wild here. Yeah, I feel like he looks even more creepy. So I'm just gonna paint this in. This is cheating a little bit. If this is a sculpture, this is not the way it would be. But I don't want to spend all the extra time that's gonna take to make this all completely look like sculpture. So I'm gonna do that. He still looks a little crazy. He's still got a little bit of crazy eye going on there. So I'll have to fix that later. But for now, again, I hope that this helped you. Maybe add a little bit more. It's hard to just call it a day. Maybe add a little bit of more detail. All right, friends, so here we go. We are getting ready to finish this up. A lot of the heavy lifting has already been done, but I just want to go over some additional things with you guys. I hope that this really kind of helps clear up some things. I think that if you guys do some of these exercises, man, I'm telling you, and I know I already said it in the other videos, but I really think it's going to bless you. I think it's going to really help you improve your digital painting skills. I really, really do. So I hope that you guys take out the time to do this. With that said, I just want to kind of tighten up some other things in here. Because of time, I wanted to really make this super clean and detailed and cool. But I really do think I'm going to have to pass on that. Let me see. I've got some additional, So if this ever happens to you, really I want this layer to only be for the eyes. But now I've got other stuff in there. If I turn it on and off, you can see, really I just want it to be for the eyes. And sometimes you're like, man, I just want this layer to only be this one thing. What I do to determine where else I might have a little, brush stroke all the way up here or whatever. So what I do is I select the layer and then holding Command down, I click. If you hold Command down, you see that the layer here in this box, it starts to get this little hand with the little marching ant kind of selection symbol. So when you click on that, it selects everything that's in that layer. And so that lets me know that, okay, I have this here, this hair, that I don't want. I don't want that in there. I'm going to delete that. And now I do it again. Now it's just the eyes. So I want just that. I'm going to type in eyes. I'm going to name that layer. All right. And now I'm going to continue painting here. So, man, this hair, as you guys heard me in the other video, this hair really just bugs me. I don't know why. I'm just not happy with it. But, you just got to learn to let it go sometimes and be done with it. All right, so I'm just trying to drop in some more stuff in there. Let's see here. This eyebrow, I kind of figured out what I wanted to do. I think I'm going to keep it the same value. And then I'm just going to darken a little bit underneath. Darken behind on this side. And then darken a little bit on top. I think I darkened a little too much underneath. I think I want to keep it. Let's see. A little bit more like that. And then I think you could have a little bit of a shadow in there as like the eye socket. I don't know, it's very tricky this is very tricky. This is where it gets hard. Painting can get hard when you don't have a reference, because you really are, as I was talking to a friend of mine, you really are guessing, as I mentioned before. You know, that's what painting is. You're guessing, trying to figure out how the light would actually react. And I'm not sure if I'm getting this exactly right, but it feels right. It feels good, at least to me anyways. These eyebrows. Something like that. Feels good to me. And then a little bit more highlight on this side. Maybe there's some bounce light kind of kicking up. I had it like that before and then I removed it. But I think you would have very, very soft, subtle bounce light up there. I do want to bump up the shadow on the eyes a little bit more. On the ball, like this part right here. Let me zoom in so you can see. It's just hard. I like to zoom out when I'm painting. But it's good to zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm just kind of bumping up the roundness of this eyeball. Okay. And then there's a few like pretty loose areas here that I just want to tighten up a little bit more. Stuff like this. Just trying to tighten some of these. There's some loose, rough edges. Just like that. Now, I want to push, excuse me. I want to push my ambient occlusion a little bit more. Some of these areas. And again, it's going to be in like these really tight and this kind of thing is, as I mentioned before, this is what really starts to lift that character up and make him or her, whatever you're painting, feel 3D. Like that. These little dark areas, I think down here, I think I'll also have right under here, right underneath the ear, like all of this in here, like that. And then same thing under here. I think I lost some of it. I think I had it darker before. There we go, just like that. And then in there, back here. Again, push this even more a little bit in that ear. Just like that. Like that. Maybe a little bit here in between the hair. Maybe back here, just a teeny tiny bit where the hair meets the ear. Like that. Maybe not there. I don't know. Maybe I'll soften that. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. All right, undo that. Let's give this a little bit. This is feeling a little too flat in here. So let's give this, whoa. Yeah, let's add a little bit of shadow there. And a little bit more shadow under here. Let's hit this, the bottom part of this mustache where it's kind of facing down. It's feeling a little too soft for me. Okay, cool. I'm liking this. This is feeling good. I'm gonna kind of bump up a little bit more in here. This shadow here from the nose. Just like that. And then down here, I think I want to also kind of get pretty dark. And then I think, let's see, where's the, yeah, this is the shadow. So if we do this here, I think I'm gonna do like, just gonna soften this. I don't want to spend too much time on this here, because I feel like for the most part I've talked about shadows and how they work in other videos. So I want to make it a good use of your time. As we've kind of covered in other videos, it's darker here. And then it just kind of trails off. Let's see, we're gonna go like this. Like that. And then I think I'm gonna go, let's see, something like that. And like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this shadow, so let's just get it to a reasonable place. I don't want it to look super crappy either. Yikes, I've got, what am I doing here? All right. Just soften this, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of softening it with a mask. I've got the mask over here. See, disable mask, enable mask. So I'm just kind of erasing away what I painted, so that I can soften it on that side. Okay, so I'm doing something like that. I think I want to kind of erase back here a little bit more. Okay, so something like that. And then I think that below that shadow, I want to kind of bump up the light a little bit. Sort of like this a little bit. I want to kind of bump up this light like this. And then kind of go like this here. Okay. And then the reason why I'm kind of doing this is because I want to make it feel like this is a lighter, like a floor. And I know it's like it's weird, like a floating head, but this way I can kind of do a little bit of a bounce light up here on the lower part of his chin. So this is like the light that's coming down and it's bouncing off of the floor and then kind of hitting the this part of his chin down, his jaw down here. Okay, so something like that. I think that that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and just finish this logo here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's, I mean, you guys know what it is. I know I mentioned it in the other video, like, hey, I'm going to finish this. But I'm not going to like spend too much time. because it's stuff that you already know. And so, let's see, that's pretty much the shape. That's the shape. Okay, so let's turn off the line work. Whoop. Let's actually go like this so that we know, okay, that's where it ends. All right. Now the thing about this logo is that, or this, the way I have this designed is that you're not gonna see, you're probably not gonna see this line up here. You're probably not gonna see that line from the logo. It's all the same material, so probably gonna kind of disappear. There's a way that we can kind of make it kind of show up a little bit. But I would just kind of work on this like this. And then just to make this feel sort of dimensional, make sure that you follow the dimension, you know, the edges. Whoop. The angles of this like letter. I want to kind of keep it round, not too pointy. And then this, because this is facing down, this little edge will be a little bit darker than the other edges because it's facing down. Okay, and then you can still kind of soften. You can still soften the edge of it, but this down here is a little bit darker than like this up here. So you do that. Maybe same thing with this guy. And maybe the same thing with this guy. Sort of like that. And then you could even probably go even darker here. In that little edge in there. In this little edge in here. And probably like this here. Kind of like where it meets the hat itself. Okay, something like that. This under here can probably be a little darker too because it's facing down. This can have a little bit of a drop shadow here. Like that. A little bit of a drop shadow, a little bit of a drop shadow here. A little bit of a drop shadow here. You see how subtle that is? But it is there. Okay, and then let's kind of soften this edge a little bit. And then same thing, the bottom part of this edge will be a little bit darker because it's facing down. You know what I mean? And then use this dark color. I always just use like the darkest color. And then very lightly, very lightly, I use that to paint like a little drop shadow around. Do you see how it drops? It gives it a little bit of a drop shadow. But this part will be darker than that shadow. Whoop. So something like that. And then one of the things that you can do to kind of pop the edge out over here is that you can use, see this is not all the way white, so I can bring it all the way up to white and then just do like a white edge like this here. See? And so I'm going to get rid of this line here. There's like a little outline. I don't want outlines. But I am going to use this highlight to kind of define that edge a little bit there. Something like that. And then you can kind of do the same thing up here. And this is not an outline. This is like the edge of that hat, the edge of this embroidery patch is catching a little bit of that, that highlight. You can probably get a little bit of this down here. I don't know if I like that too much. And then just continue to work some of these areas in. Again, it kind of gets lost in all the rendering, but I really want to push this ambient occlusion in some of these areas. Either it gets lost, or as I continue to render everything, the other areas start to make these areas not feel, you know, feel less dark or whatever. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah, just push that a little bit more. I think this back here, especially up here, can be much darker. And so instead of filling this whole thing like really dark, again, I just kind of soften and let it fade out. But now because that's so dark up there, I think that it would be wise to maybe bump this up a little bit more. You don't want it to be so contrasty from one to the next. That's when, like we were talking about earlier, that's when it starts to feel unnatural. Like where you have issues, like things feeling too contrasty, they don't feel natural. So I just darken that color next to it so that it feels more, a little bit more natural. I think that's good. I think on this side of the edge, I think I'm going to go just a tiny bit darker. Like that. If you wanted to add some more like little details, you can. I don't know if I would do that myself, but like you can add like little stitching, stuff like that, you know. I don't, you know, I'm not gonna spend, that's gonna be more tedious stuff. Yeah, and then as far as the eyes, yeah, I don't know, I think I'm gonna just have to kind of live with it. Maybe I can go a little bit darker. And maybe, I don't know, maybe the eyes are just made of a different kind of material. Maybe it's like a toy where the eyes are just made out of like a glossy kind of little material, and then you can go something more like that. I don't know, maybe. Little highlight under there. Let's see, if this is if he was completely made out of plastic, then you can kind of hit certain spots that would actually catch that light. You don't want to overdo it, but you just want to get it in the right areas. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. What I'm gonna do now is, I know I said I'm gonna do like a color, that I'm gonna add color to it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach it in a little bit of a different way, because I don't want to be too all over the place. I want to kind of, this is a black and white image. I said I wanted you guys to focus on values. And so I think I want to kind of take that a little bit further. So you see the way we kind of had this as a statue, you know, or as a sculpture or a clay model where everything is the same, like the same color, you know, if everything is made out of the same kind of clay. I think we're going to turn this into like a black and white image, which will allow us to kind of, you know, darken up the hair, things like that. So I think it'll make sense once I start doing it. But I think we're going to do that. We'll see how that goes, and if that kind of, we'll see how it goes with time. I don't want to make this, as I said before, too long. So if that goes well, then we can go ahead and add color. Maybe, you know, but again, I'm kind of wondering if this should stay black and white, and if we could continue to do maybe some more black and white focus on value type of stuff, because again, it's something that I don't think I've taught before. But when I look at a lot of student feedback, whether it be through here, Image Makers, or on, I teach on Domestika as well, usually the issue is with values. So anyways, with that said, let's just jump in so that we can get started right away. Hey friends, if you're enjoying this tutorial so far but want to eventually dive in a little bit deeper with some Photoshop tips, grayscale lighting, and even dive into some color painting, then check out my tutorial on my online store, and I've added the link in the description below, so be sure to check it out. But for now, let's get back to the video. So what I'm going to do is, let me show you. We're going to drop in not some color, but we're gonna take this from it being like a sculpture or a clay model to it being like a black and white image of Mario. Let's see, so I'm gonna set this feather up here to 2 pixels because my edges here are kind of soft, and I'm not going to do this super carefully, but you can, and I would suggest that you do it if you want to make this a really nice image that you can share on Instagram, social media. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select around all the hair sections. And you don't have to do it this way. You can just paint very, very carefully around everything. And in fact, you're probably still going to have to tweak it after you do this. And I'll show you why. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some irregular little spots that are going to need some adjusting. And again, I'll show you what I mean by that in just a minute here. Okay, and then just the eyebrows. All right, and we're almost there. We're almost there, and just this here, this part of the hair. And then once you do that, then now with that selection, I have this on a separate layer, by the way, so I should have probably mentioned that first. So I created a layer above the whole painting, and I titled it color, and then I set it to multiply up here on the blending options, this little menu up here. So what that does is it's going to keep a lot of my values the same, but it's going to add like a darker kind of shade over the whole thing. And I'm going to do that to the hair. Anything that's hair, I'm going to do that. Okay. And there we go. So now this starts to kind of, what do you call it? Take on the appearance more of a black and white image versus a sculpture or something, or a clay model. And I think I want to push the hair just a teeny tiny bit darker. So having the color layer selected, I'm clicking this checkerboard thing up here, and I moved my color slightly darker here. I moved it down just a bit. And maybe I wanted a little tiny bit more. Yeah, I think this I like. I think this is where I want it to be. All right. So there we go. So now that's his hair. And this is the area that I thought that I was talking about. Once this is all done, we're going to flatten everything, and then we're going to go in and tweak all of this. But you see this little, you see what's happening here? Like it's like a dark outline here. Like I don't want that. And then there's a weird like light part. Like these are little areas that just need to be adjusted. And that just happens a lot when you mask things off and you kind of, or just irregular little brush strokes that you need to tweak. So, but anyways, let's move along. I think I want the hat right now is just a little tiny bit darker than his skin. in terms of values, but I want the hat to be, I want it to be a shade, like just a hair darker than what it is right now. So I unchecked this box because I want to paint outside of the hair now. I want to paint other areas. You could do this in separate layers too. Like if you want multiply, you want to create another layer and have that, you know, have everything that you're painting over, like multiply like this on a separate layer, you can do that as well. So I should have cleaned up all these layers. I'm just looking at this layers panel right now. It can be so confusing. You know what? I think I'm gonna save this as another option, as another file. And I think I'm gonna delete all this. Let me go ahead and cut. I'm gonna edit all this out, but I'm gonna just go ahead and take a moment to clear out this layer panel. So that's cleared up. I just wanted to clean that up. It was just looking so crazy over there. So got to be efficient. So anyway, so yeah, so if you want to put these things on, like you could do the hair on one layer, you could do the hat on the other layer. However you want to break that up is completely up to you. I'm going to keep it all on one just to try to keep moving quickly here. So let's see. That's too dark for the hat. That's a little bit better. Let me see if I can lighten it some more. I think that might be good. Let me bump it up a little bit more. I don't want it to be too close to the hair. Let's see, maybe I can, I'm kind of torn now between, let's see. I'm wondering if I should darken the hair a little bit. I think I'm going to darken the hair a little bit more. Let's see, I worry that it might be too dark up against the skin. So this is what I mean, like it's kind of like trial and error. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to leave it like this. That other, it was just way too dark. So I think for the hat, let's see. Is this doing anything? Oh, okay, I have this locked. All right, so I think for the hat, go a little bit lighter. I think this will be good for the hat. I think I can tweak. Like right here, the hat and the hair it's running into each other. So I don't like that. That's where I'm having an issue. But I think I could come back and darken the hair on that side since it's sitting in shadow. Again, as I've mentioned before, what you want to do is you want to separate the values. It's just a constant separating the values, making sure that things aren't running into each other, that the different parts need to, like for example, as I just said here with the hat, you don't want the hat and the hair the way it does now to kind of feel like one thing. You definitely don't want it to feel like one thing. You want it to definitely feel like they're two separate objects, two separate things. And so you want to separate that by having a good control of your values. Contrast. That is key. All right, so I'm just going to finish doing this. So this kind of helps create a little bit of a contrast between the hat and the skin. What's going to happen down here is I'm going to need to darken this up underneath a little bit. But already, I like the way that's feeling. That's, you know, we're taking it from, like I said, a clay model to like a black and white kind of image of him. So I think that that's pretty good. You could potentially maybe do a little something with the skin as well. Like, you just want to be careful not to, you know, but maybe that, see that, maybe that's in shadow a little bit. I'd have to kind of blend it in here on this edge. I don't know if the same thing will happen with this ear. I think I would probably leave that. Let's see. Maybe just do that one a tiny bit darker, but yeah. I like to zoom out to see. You zoom out and squint a little bit to kind of take a better look at it. I think that that looks good. I'm going to turn off multiply, put it on normal so I can see what color did I use for the hat. I guess it's this gray. I'm going to turn multiply on again, and then I'm going to paint the M. So yeah, I think, I can't remember, excuse me, I think that the M is like red or something. I can't recall. So, but I want to kind of lift it up a little bit off of that white background. So now that I've got that done, let's see. This is my dude here. I think I'm ready to flatten this and then kind of like clean up this image a bit. All right. So I've added some of this to it, and you don't have to do this. If you wanted to just keep it like this, that's fine too. But I've added some color to this. Really, I just kind of bumped up the values and separated things, and like I said, turned it more into like a black and white kind of image. So I'm gonna take this, and having my layer, my render layer selected and my color layer selected, I'm going to select both of those, and then I'm going to hit Command Option no wait, sorry, I'm going to do Command J, and Command J duplicates both of those layers, and then I'm going to do Command E, and that'll flatten them. So this is here. I'm going to just title this Flattened. Okay, so we have the color layer, the rendered layer. I'm going to turn those off, and now this flattened layer has everything in there. Okay, so this is flattened. Now, just real quick, I don't think I'm going to spend too much time on this, but I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new layer on top, and we're just going to quickly kind of touch up some of these areas and help separate some of the areas that may be like this, what I was saying with the hair. Let's start down here real quick. I haven't really been mentioning what brushes I've been using, but really I've been just using this lowish hard round brush for the most part. And then sometimes I'll switch over to this hard round pressure if I wanted to spit out like 100%, like a bunch of paint all at once, if I want to just quickly fill an area. For the most part, I've been using this lowish hard round brush. So we're going to go in there, and I'm going to fix up this little hazy outline under here. And I think that no matter how dark this is under here, I think that the mustache should be darker than the skin. So even if this is like in the shadow down here and this is dark, I think the mustache, especially if this bottom part of the mustache is going to also kind of be in shadow, I think this needs to kind of be the darkest parts. And I think I want to bump up the value on the bottom part of this mustache down here. Just a bit. Yeah. Sort of like that. Okay. I think I'm going to do that. And then now, because this is black and white, it's not like a sculpture. I think you could add a little bit of more characteristics of hair. And what I mean by that is I think you could do like, let's see, kind of like this, you know. And even, you know, even if this was, as I said before, like a clay sculpture, I could have added some of these details in there. You know, just very subtle. I'm not going to do a lot. I'm not going to add a bunch of strands and going for realism. Just a little something just to kind of indicate that this is hair. You know, just something, just a little something. So something like this. I don't want to overdo it, but even just a little bit of that, like that roughness there. So it doesn't feel so flat. And then here, maybe a little bit more here as well. Just something to help it feel a little bit more like hair. I feel like I could do a much better job with this. But you get the gist of it, just to kind of give it a little bit more of that hair kind of feeling. And then maybe add a very subtle little highlight. Just kind of brush it in. And again, don't overdo it. Keep it very soft and subtle. Hair is not going to have, especially like mustache hair, it's not going to really have that like super shiny, glossy look. So try to have a little bit more control over how much shine and stuff you add to it. Again, it depends, you know, you might have like a character that has very shiny, glossy hair, and then they decide to do that with the mustache and everything else. So I guess I take that back, because I've even painted stuff like that before. But for this bushy kind of rough mustache, you're not going to really have that kind of shine. So I guess it does depend on the hair. Then maybe a little bit of light hitting this part of the hair down here. Okay. And that adds a little bit of roughness to the hair. Maybe this over here as well is catching some light. And so I'm just going to quickly brush in a little bit of light there. Maybe this side over here. Maybe it catches a little bit, but then this is where I definitely wanted, you see here? Yeah, I definitely wanted to separate this from the hat. So if you see here, this is what I was talking about. This is a way to, these are the kinds of things that you want to do. You don't want the hair and the hat to feel like one thing. And I know it's a subtle little thing. It's just this small bit of hair on this side. You know, you might think it's not that big of a deal, but it is. You know, it starts to look like it's all one big thing, and then people are like, oh, is that part of the hat? Or, oh no, that's the hair. You know, like you want to clarify those things. You don't want those things to seem like ambiguous, you know, and all right, so just trying to clean up the edge of that hat. So yeah, see, that really helps separate the hat from the, there you go. See the difference? I mean, there was some separation already, but I feel like that just kind of really helps seal the deal. All right, and then up here, this part seemed too abrupt for me. I want to soften that. And I want to be careful not to darken this too much and then start to create the same problem again. But yeah, no, I think this is looking cool. I do want to, there's some weird shape stuff going on up here. I do want to clean that up a bit. So I'm going to turn on a mask. I'm going to add a mask to his head, to the whole silhouette, I should say. And then I'm just going to kind of go like this. And I'm going to brush out these weird these weird little points over here. It was just bad masking on my end. All right. And there's a little bit of a hazy outline around the whole thing. So now I'm going to apply this mask. I think I'm happy with all of this that I've got going on here. So I'm going to flatten this again. And then I'm going to select the whole thing. So I'm going to use, I'm going to select my layer, okay? Then I'm going to hit Command and click inside of this box here. It's going to give me the marching ants. I'm going to go up here to select, modify, contract. And that's going to, I'm going to set this to 2 pixels. So that's going to cause these pixels here to come inside a little bit. Because what I want to do is, I have a white hazy outline around the whole thing. I want these this marching ants, these like selection, to come in a little bit so that I can cut out the stuff I don't want. You'll see here, watch. So they came in just a very little bit, probably hard to tell. But now if I turn on a mask, you can see that we got rid of that hazy white outline, watch. So if I disable the mask, you see that hazy, I don't know, hopefully you guys can see it. You see that hazy white outline that I don't like that. But now with the mask, boom, we get rid of that. So that's how you do that. You create a selection, you go up here, select, modify, and do contract. You could also do the opposite, which is expand. That comes in handy a lot. I do use that often. So now I'm going to apply that mask. I'm going to turn on lock pixels again, just so I can do some final cleanup. And I'm going to soften some of these shadows. This over here was kind of rough. I'm going to soften this. I think I want to, this is kind of sloppy, honestly, this logo. And I don't know if I want to spend too much time cleaning it up for this, because you already know how to clean this up. The hard part, or the parts that I really wanted to teach you, was values, how to separate them, how to control it, how you want to add contrast without making it be too harsh. Those are the important things. Pretty much everything that I already taught you in this lesson, you can use to kind of fix this logo. I just don't know if I want to spend all this time. I could easily spend like 40 minutes or 30 minutes, you know, tweaking and messing around with this logo. But you get the drift. You know what to do with that. Very easy to fix. You just have to, you know, spend some time on it. So I'm going to soften this shadow under here. I want this to be a little softer. I think under here I had mentioned, yeah, I want to go a little bit darker under here, just a teeny tiny bit to separate. I want to separate this under here from the hat. I want to separate his forehead from the hat. So I just bumped up the values in this shadow area. Okay. So something like that, just to kind of help separate that a little bit more. You could also, what do you call it? Add some stronger highlights. So I already added these kind of highlights here. You could probably push this highlight up here, like some of these highlight areas a little bit more. It really just depends on how strong of a key light you want to have on the character. But that does help create a little bit more contrast. I know I had that shiny little glossy thing up there, but I don't think I want the hat to be made of that kind of material at this point. Making it a black and white image, I think I just want it to feel more like fabric, which wouldn't have that shiny. I think this right here is weird, the way this kind of ends here. This here, I think what I would like to do is round it off a little bit. Just to give the hat a little bit better form. So something like that, I think that works. I think in here, I'm okay with his, with that little shiny dot. I think I want to just kind of soften it a little bit. Maybe add a little bit more, very, very subtle, a little bit more highlight on here, on the top of his cheeks. And make sure that I soften that. Just like that. And I think that's looking cool. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think this is fun. This was a lot of fun to work with. I know that I mentioned like color, and I'll show you just real quick after we do this one more thing. I'll show you real quick what you could do if you wanted to add color. It's something that I used to do before. I don't really do this anymore, but I'll show it to you anyways. I'll do that right after. One more thing that I think that would be nice touch for detail is, especially with the hair. Okay, just a few. And I think I've taught this already in some of my other videos. Just a few little, like this too here. You see that? The trick to this is to not overdo it. You get really happy and then you end up doing a lot, you know, like you get really like excited about it. So the trick is to not overdo it. Just a few. And I have to kind of do it a few times until I get a shape that I want. Okay. I think I want to soften this edge a little bit here. It's too hard of an edge. Right there, just wanted to soften that. Want to soften this edge a little bit. Just like that. All right, and so now that I've got it all done, what you could do for color is, I'm gonna create a new cut. So here's my art. Here's the artwork. This one I'm gonna title color. All right, so one thing that you can do, and you probably already know this trick or this little tip, is that you set it to multiply, right? And now I'm gonna do a clipping mask here so that it stays within the art. And then you can select a red. You're probably gonna have to make it like kind of pink. And actually, you know what? Because this is a grayscale image, it's not gonna let me do that. So let me hit save. So I hit save, and then let me save this as color 2. All right, and then now that I've done that, image mode, I'm gonna change it to RGB. I'm gonna say don't merge because I don't want it to merge my layers. Okay, so now it's RGB. So now I'm gonna leave, again, remember I have my color layer up here. I have a clipping mask. I'm gonna select like a pinkish kind of color. We're probably gonna have to keep tweaking that until we get it the way that we want it. And then I'm gonna use 100% this just to be able to quickly see what color this is giving me. So that's actually pretty cool. So this is the way that you can then quickly just add color to something. I'm not a huge fan of this because you lose a lot of the richness of the color. And this starts to feel kind of muddy really quick if you do it this way. There's ways that you can do this and maintain the rich, colors, like have the colors feel lifelike. But this, once you're done, if you do this with all the areas, and especially like with skin, it starts to feel very like muddy and like just doesn't feel as vibrant, So this is just a quick way that you can color it, but I'll show you real quick what I don't like the way skin kind of, it just doesn't feel right. You see this, like it's hard for me to explain why I don't like it, but it's fine. Like I mean, if you did this and then after you were done with it, then you went ahead and like painted over top of it. But I don't know, it's a lot of work. I rather just paint it in color, but I used to do this before. I learned how to do my grayscale paintings, and I would do grayscale painting and then I would add color on top afterwards like this. This just makes it, like I said, it's not as rich. The colors are not as rich this way. It feels kind of dry. It almost feels like the old school 3D rendering before you light it and everything. So yeah, so anyways, I did want to show you that this does come in handy for certain things, and I do use this technique sometimes, but not to do a full painting. I don't ever do a full painting this way. What I want you to focus on, do some more of these grayscale things. Do some grayscale paintings. Keep this in mind. Keep in mind like how to group things, make sure that you're separating stuff. So I want you to do that. I want you to do more of these grayscale. I'll see if I can do another one or two videos on this kind of stuff. But you see how this is separated from, that's separated like from the hat, from this, okay? I want you to separate that. The mustache is all, all the hair, everything is all separated. It doesn't feel, here it starts to feel like it's running into this. And so I could fix that by making this part a little bit darker. But it doesn't bother me too much here because it's so dark. But you know what? To be honest and to be consistent with what I'm teaching you, it would probably be wise to lighten this part up a little bit here, so that it reads as hair and not as the hat, okay? So to be consistent with what I'm teaching you, I need to practice what I preach, and I need to do what I'm asking you guys to do. So, but yeah, you see this, you want to try to separate these things, Same thing with this logo here, this patch. This feels like a separate piece from the rest of the hat, okay? So you want to keep these things in mind. You want to control that. Even if you look at the, what other color? I'm running out of colors here. Even if you look at the eyeball, if you look at these eyeballs, this color here and this color here, like you could see the separation. You could see that it's a different material, different part. So keep that in mind. How can you continue to kind of keep those things separated? Let's see. Did I paint over my stuff? I hope I didn't. Yep, I did paint over it. All right, awesome. Let's see if I can go back and undo all of the... okay, good. All right. So yeah, so see if you can kind of continue to keep those things separated. Remember to keep, like your light is coming... Remember that your light is, wherever your light is coming from, if your light is coming from up here, remember to light everything that way. So remember that your nose, the shadow's going to be there. Remember that your mustache, the shadow's going to be under here. Remember here, the whole head, this should all kind of be in shadow. All right, so... And I know that you probably feel like, oh, I already know that. But keeping all of this in mind and staying on top of this is what helps keep you, keep a strong, a painting that has strong value structure. And remember to use your to use your occlusion in the real dark areas like this, all of these little dark areas, you know, all of this stuff really helps you kind of make this thing pop, make it really, like another artist used to say, it makes it sing, you know, it makes it really feel dimensional and stuff. So I hope that this blesses you. Hopefully this helped you, and I will see you guys on the next video.